Well, hello. We're back for a finally serious edition of making the kingly armor. Now, I've been pounding away and pulverizing stuff for 7 days, and I have a couple of bags to show for it. But they're beautiful bags. Right here, frankincense, activated charcoal that I made, myrrh, and pine gum rosin. Okay, this stuff I ordered in a powdered form. Smarter. This is the version I collected. Let's see. Well, looks like a bunch of sticks and stuff are in there because I scraped it out of a tree that I climbed while I was swimming in a river with a mighty gibberine. Shout out to you, Eric. We're gonna make some sweet kingly armor. I've got a broski, y'all, who made his own forge in the ground and then forged out knives at a place called Git, growing in Torah. Awesome, like, full-time internship where you live out the festival cycle while living on a farm and learning all those life skills and parabolic teachings of livestock management and animal husbandry and how to study the scriptures like a champion. He did that, and while he was doing that down there, he also made knives. Amazing. He gave me a knife. Love it. I want to get that guy a blacksmith shop and get him all set up and kitted out so he can make some sweet swords for the remnant. Because, did you know, you're commanded to sell your cloak and buy a sword. It doesn't say an AR-15, guys. I know. I loved firearms. I still have a place of affection for them. But at the end of the day, it's a complicated bit of machinery that you can't reproduce. I know, you think you're cool because you've got all the sweet tech, and I got the same feeling. I had a Tavor, guys. If you don't know what an IWI Tavor is, it's a Israeli battle rifle. Stood the test of time. In Israel, they've been living in a perpetual state of war since basically all of us were alive. They used their battle rifles on the regs. So their battle rifle is called a bullpup design. The magazine sits behind the trigger mechanism. It's fantastic, well balanced, shortened so that you can get in and out of tight, cramped places like a vehicle or your front yard. Because some of us live in apartments, and your front yard is the hallway next door, you know. Anyways, the Tavor is designed for that kind of an environment, and it had an 18-inch barrel, and yet was 7 inches, maybe 6 inches shorter than most dudes' AR-15s with their sawed-off short barrels. Anyways, I loved that thing. It was fantastic. It was my dream rifle, my whole life. Well, let me just put it this way. I started reading encyclopedias of firearms when I was a wee lad, 12 and 13 years old. I started reading books, guys. I didn't Google my way through life like a false AI system. I read books. When I wanted to learn about firearms, I read books. I read their manuals. What? Why? Because I wanted to design weapons. Some people don't understand this whole side of me, but if you could, hang with me. You'd finally figure out there's a destiny for each and every one of you who has the same knack inside you. I wanted to make weapons. I just thought research and design and creating things that did crazy, wild things was amazing. I love that. It was a creative expression to me. And it gave me a way of expressing a deep, latent desire that I had for combat. Serious combat, guys. I wanted to run spears through human beings. I did, if I was frank with you. But then somebody showed me a firearm and how you could do it from a distance, and I thought that was awesome. I got totally ensnared in that world for a long time. I thought it would be the coolest thing ever to finally be able to be a soldier, carry around a somewhat fully automatic firearm. Most firearms in the Army, they don't issue you fully automatic weapons. They might issue a specific individual a fully automatic weapon because most guys are too stupid to handle fully automatic firepower. Really, it's very expensive. It's a waste of your life. I mean it. It looks sweet in movies and stuff, but it's totally ineffective, except at doing certain things like squad tactics. So most guys, you don't need full automatic stuff because you're just a doofus with it and you waste your rounds. You gotta be selective. So that's where selective fire comes in. Single shot, 2-round burst. 2-round burst. I don't know whatever guy invented the 3-round burst, but it's foolish. It really is. 2-round burst. Every firearm should be equipped with 2-round burst. That would be the best. By the 3rd round, your rifle's generally climbing out of a place that it shouldn't be in at that point. Your point of aim and your point of impact are all over the map. You can't really track with it, even with a moderate recoiling firearm like a 5.56 millimeter NATO round. It's still moderately uncontrollable. I don't care how strong and over the barrel grip my grip is. Select fire is fantastic. Full automatic has its due place when you simply must get everybody to duck their heads down over there. That helps. Excuse me, there's a bug inside me. That being said, I really loved the Tavor. I had a civilian version, which means there was no select fire. There was simply safe or bad news bears for the other guy. I like that too. It was nowhere near as satisfying though. I wanted a select fire firearm. I didn't get one. You can acquire them legally. They're spectacularly expensive. They require an inordinate amount of licensure and not really a lot, but a lot of oversight that I wasn't a huge fan of. So I opted out of that, and I just never had a select fire firearm since I got out of the military. And it's just nowhere near as fun, guys. I gotta be honest. Being able to go full auto is spectacularly fun. It's invigorating to do a mag dump or even to just do 3 to 5 round controlled bursts. It's really fun. It's spectacular. But it really has almost no place whatsoever in combat. It really doesn't. Do you know how many rounds are wasted? Wasted. I can't stand waste. But you know, if we threw spears or if we slung rocks, let me show you. I don't know how to sling rocks yet, but I intend to learn. And if there's going to be rocks I want to sling, how about chunks of sapphire? It's one of the hardest stones, period. It's amazing. And now I've got bags full of them. But that's because, honestly, I was willing to sell everything I had to acquire a treasure that I found. I mean it. I carried around this Tavor for a long time, for years. I thought I was going to finally be able to go into this sweet executive protection industry and be a really saucy bodyguard with the nice daggers, the sweet suits, the quiet, suppressed sound of a sling of a knife coming out of its holster. I thought I was going to be doing that stuff all the time, and so I finally built it out. I put a Trijicon ACOG dual illuminated optic on there with 4 times magnifying power. It had a prismatic optic in it, meaning instead of having this big long telescope like most optics are, they use prisms to magnify the light in a compact way so that you have a really compact yet still powerfully built, I guess, I don't know, something that still has a lot of magnification opportunities happening inside it in a still compact package. It was amazing. It was like the best rifle package you could have. It was my dream package. I wanted it so badly. And then I had it for a long time, but I'm still, once again, too frugal to shoot my own ammunition, so I wouldn't train with it regularly. It was just like my showpiece. I'd pull it out and shoot some rounds out of it. But then most of the places I lived, I could never actually shoot firearms freely. I had to go drive to some shooting range where a doofus who's never done anything successful in his life but be a Nazi on the range. I mean that. Range guys are doofuses. They drive me crazy. Most of them have never had months or years of belabored training when it comes to firearms, let alone running a range, and it just drove me nuts. They wouldn't let me do magazine changes. What? They'd let me shoot 1 round at a time? There's all these rules. Now, granted, sorry, I'm chewing on a piece of topaz. It was because there's a lot of doofuses out there that show up on the range who've watched some sweet YouTube videos of Keanu Reeves smoking some dudes in a movie once. And they're like, watch me do this, man. Brah, brah. So sweet and saucy, right? Until they frag their buddy. That means shoot them. It drove me nuts going to the range. So I never wanted to go to the range, let alone pay money to some dude to yell at me. I didn't like that. Nor did I like that they took my ID at the door. Do you know what I mean? And that they had a lot of cameras everywhere. Cameras have been known to make me moderately uncomfortable at times. So I used to wear a big boonie hat everywhere I went and had a lot of different identities going everywhere. So we all have our different versions of life out there, don't we? Anyways, I didn't like range day. Not there. So I'd try to find places like National Forest. But then there started being all these stupid signs out there because doofus number 4 found the same National Forest spot I did. And they started dumping printers and televisions and refrigerators out there and shooting those to pieces and leaving their trash like a doofus. So then those places get shut down because they become a scrap heap of nightmaric, terrible, toxic waste, which is understandable. Can't be responsible. And they just give us firearm owners out there a bad rep. So all these miles I've been driving, I never really got to go shoot. I never really got to enjoy my firearm. And I wasn't hunting humans anymore. I really had no place for it. But you know what I still had a place for? A spear. I'm serious. I was walking around my property in El Dorado Canyon. By my property, I mean someone else's property I was living on and stewarding over like my own. I was living on that property and I needed a stick really badly all the time wherever I was walking around. And I wanted something sharp at the end of it because we had a lot of mountain lions, bears.
Yes. Looks like a juvenile black bear.
And yes, deadly serpents that breathed poison out of their fang tips. Incredible creatures. Western diamondback rattlesnakes. We had a lot of snakes there. I'll probably try to roll in a video of Naomi standing next to a rattlesnake while our neighbor, who was living there, comes up with a garden rake and deals with that thing. If you didn't know how to deal with a snake, sorry, I just realized I have this pan on and it's super hot. If you didn't know it, one of the best ways to deal with a serpent is with a gravel rake. A gravel rake has all these tines on it, you know, they're all about yay long, and it's got about, I don't know, maybe 18 inches wide. And that way, it gives you some wiggle room if you miss. But you can swing down on that thing and pin its head down to the ground. And then you take your other best tool ever, which is your machete, your sword, remember? You should have one. Get a machete. I mean it. You can use it every day for things like this. Dispatching a deadly animal. That serpent was less than 6 inches away from Naomi's boot when she was walking up the hill. My wife stepped right over it. She was pregnant 8 or 9 months pregnant at the time. My wife stepped right over it because they're camouflaged. Serpents are incredibly good at hiding. They're very, very sneaky. But we used to pray every single day that Yahweh would shut the mouth. We still do. We pray that he would shut the mouth of any dangerous or harmful creatures that are on the land that we're on, and that he would cause them to be able to cause no harm to anyone who's on the property, whether a biting insect with like ticks and their nightmaric things they carry, whether they could poison or destroy you. We literally pray that every single day because we actually believe he gave us sovereign authority over the creatures of this earth, and we can pray that he would send his angels to give us dominion over them. Remember Numbers 22 through 25? Balaam, you read that recently? Yahweh sent an angel to direct an animal. So you can pray to Yahweh and ask him to send angels to direct animals anytime you want. You have biblical grounds for it. That being said, this guy, Denny, on the property, he's like in his 60s, you know what I mean? Crushing life by crushing the heads of serpents with gravel rakes. He brings out his machete, which was a serious machete. It's those, you know, I don't know if it's a bolo, not quite a bolo, just a pretty traditional machete that you get for like $7 at the store. He's killed, I think, almost a dozen rattlesnakes with that thing. And he did the same thing there and protected my wife and daughter because I was out doing the stupid bodyguarding, driving around pretty people-looking thing at the time. I wasn't there to protect my family, but I was sure glad he was, and that he knew how to use a sword. He killed that thing, protected my family. Props to you, Denny. I don't know if you ever watch any of this. But that being said, I carried around this Devore for all these miles. Didn't know what the heck to do with it. Finally, I was praying to the Father, and he told me to get rid of that thing. And so I did, you guys. I sold my rifle. It's a big deal. I sold my firearm. It's not an easy thing to do. Some of you guys that have been in the military, you adopt one firearm like your firstborn son. And you would like sleep with it. Some of you don't understand that at all. But in basic combat training, one of the things they do is you basically get married to your firearm. Really. You basically go into covenant with that firearm because that thing and you are about to go to work and a different kind of job where you're depending on that thing to do exactly what it was designed to do, which is kill humans, maim them, cause catastrophic wound damage or wound channels in their bodies. The 5.56 round, in some ways, was chosen because it caused wounds, bad wounds, not necessarily for its lethality, right? This was adopted during the Vietnam War, where the United States had decided, you know what might be a better strategy? Less big bullets, more little bullets that our guys can carry because they're terrible shots most of the time. True stories. Look in the book called On Killing. It's written by a colonel of some sort. I can't remember his name right now. Tremendous human. The Psychology of Killing. Amazing book. And you're going to go to the resistance, the psychological resistance of killing human beings, and how often we don't actually kill each other in combat, how we just miss. And there's a deep instinctual resistance to murdering another human being, and that's good. That's a design. That's a sign that you're not a son of Cain. Do you know what I mean by that? Some of you might. If you're going to bear the mark of Cain, there's some humans out there who have no problem smoking other fools, just killing other people. Then there's most humans who genuinely are like, I was just in high school like 3 days ago. That was me. I was a junior in high school. And then 3 days after that, I was in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I was just learning how to murder humans for wholesale. And don't worry, the bad guys then, Al-Qaeda, right? They used to be our homies a few years before that, but then we, of course, decided they weren't. They were our nomies now. So we went after them and designed unbelievable amounts of carnage and devastating weapons like the fuel-air bomb. You guys want to look into some destructive firepower? Look into fuel-air explosions. Basically, they drop bombs filled with things like kerosene or jet fuel or any other highly combustible volatile gas that they then ignite, and it kills people through the percussion of the shockwave. Liquefies your organs as it passes through you. Tremendous. Because we wanted to root them out of their caves, right? They're just dudes like David in so many ways, and his Gibberim living in caves. Those guys are Gibberim. They just may not be your Gibberim. Do you understand what I'm saying? A lot of them were just shepherds the day before we started dropping bombs on their faces. You would be doing the same thing, guys. Some of you guys may be doing very well the same thing if drones start dropping fuel-air bombs on your face, or your family, your farm, or your friends. So we'll see what's in you when that happens. That being said, we got to a place where I realized, the United States, Vietnam War, tangents. Basically, we decided, let's not try to just kill everybody, because we would like to prolong our wars. Most people don't think this is how the United States military operates, but it is. We'd rather bleed, because if you had profitability as your god, if you had mammon as your god, you'd want to keep that war going as long as humanly possible. So how do you do that? Well, if we just killed everybody really precisely with as few rounds as possible, but then they wouldn't need to buy more ammo. Well, we can't have that. We can make a lot more money if they started shooting a lot more bullets, right? You see, we had rounds, guys, we still do, that are so effective at killing that they banned them 100 years ago. Just think about this. If the ultimate goal in combat was to kill your enemy as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible, wouldn't you want to stop the fight immediately? Yeah. So you use something called a fragmenting round. Look up fragmenting rounds. I'll probably put in a picture. It basically means the bullet has I don't have a bullet sitting by me. I didn't plan on doing any of this today. I was just going to make some pitch and roll it on linen, but they basically have tiny grooves carved into the bullet. They're scored, that's the word. They score the copper in just a little pattern, and it makes it like a tiny grenade. So when you shoot that round and it hits something fleshy, like someone's left arm, it detonates. It detonates in no uncertain terms, guys. You don't have to put explosives. It's got enough kinetic energy in it to just explode upon the flesh, and it would blow limbs up, movie style, for real carnage, like real movie style. You can buy fragmenting rounds. You can also buy, the other version is called frangible munitions. That's designed to not go through a bunch of walls and shoot the guy on the other side of the house that you are clearing in your tactical cool drill. Yeah, or like an airplane. Frangible munitions. These are also things that dump all their kinetic energy into a tiny amount of space as quickly as possible. They're unbelievably devastating cartridges. We could have been, munitions. We could have been using those, and we could have been just destroying people. But people are like, profiteers, war profiteers, decided we can't have these battles stop so quickly. We must outlaw these munitions and say you must have a full metal jacket on your chunk of lead. That'll be good, because in war we should have rules, right? Staggering, guys. Now, the 5.56 round was designed to basically enter into the body and somewhat cause a tumbling effect, if possible. That tumbling effect would expand, so instead of going just straight in like a pencil, I don't have a pencil. All I carry on me, guys, I don't carry normal things like other humans do. Instead of going straight in like an ice pick, which the round looks like, it's the size of like a pencil diameter. It goes into the target, and as it goes straight in, it's very likely that it's going to hit something a little harder, and it's going to change shape in its orientation. And as it does that, it starts to tumble or rotate. And so that more of that round that was only 5.56 millimeters now is showing a profile, so it's getting wider, and it's creating a bigger wound cavity, and it's breaking bones as it does it, and it's bouncing off and maybe going up into the body. Crazy different kinds of wound cavitation happens during that time. And so because of that, you know what? It causes that guy to get jacked up, but not necessarily dead jacked up. Like if you shot him with the same cartridge or in the same place with a 7.62 round. So about 2 millimeters bigger, going still really fast, which was the firearm that we had been using, basically a .308 Winchester for you civilian folk out there. We could have just continued to use that and trained better and had better firearm discipline, but instead it got a lot more fun to introduce the M16A1 rifle, which is what I was carrying for a small window of time when I was 17 years old and a junior in high school, which had an M203 grenade launcher on the bottom of it. It was a 40 millimeter grenade launcher. It could shoot it a couple hundred-ish yards. Not really. It didn't shoot it super fast or super far, but it shot a grenade, which is spectacular capabilities. Lobbed it more like, it's kind of like a guy throwing a really fast football. That was kind of the trajectory. The M16A1 was also a select fire firearm. So you could go single shot or full auto, son. It's amazing. Really fun to carry. Really fun to shoot. And it had a 20 or 22 inch barrel, because you want to maximize your burn time in that barrel and get that round as hot as possible, fast as possible. I liked carrying that firearm. I missed that firearm, honestly. It was wonderful. But that was introduced basically in the Vietnam War era. The problem was, most guys shoot terribly when you put them on full auto, because they just get scared. And that's okay, I guess. But you're trying to train that fear out of them. Altira. Most good commanders and leaders are trying to train their troops to not fear. Read the Bible. It's the number one commandment, more or less, from beginning to end, is to fear nothing but Yahweh Elohim. For a reason, because everything else might make you fear. But if you are confident, if you are trained and properly armored, you are not afraid to stand up in the thick of a nightmare battle scene and fire off controlled, deliberate, precise fire into the enemy with regularity and confidence. You need that. Good armor makes you be able to stand up when everyone else is ducking down and doing a lot of this. Maybe I'll find some videos and splice them in now of a lot of guys firing blindly, holding their rifles up and shooting around a corner, not even aiming, right? Hundreds of thousands of rounds are being wasted. Wasted, guys. Because they're afraid. Because they have no confidence. Because they don't know how to shoot properly in a very dangerous situation. A very fear-invoking situations, honestly. But you can change that. And I think Yahweh called me to sell my firearm, to sell my Tavor, because he needed to change the way I thought about combat, to change the way I thought about warfare. We got a huge rat that's roaming around. Reference the previous time my hand was all bandaged up because I caught it in the rat trap I was trying to kill that guy in. Clearly I haven't killed him yet. Anyways, there was a lesson I needed to learn about combat that I can't learn if I hang on to, if I cling onto the firearms. They're so complicated, I can't replicate them, I can't make them, I can't really feed that thing unless I get some complex wizardry involved in high-tech machining and saltpeter, and we can't replicate any of those things, guys. You know that, right? If one of these tiny little springs inside your firearm breaks, you're wholly dependent on some dude in Babylon to make and sell you that thing. So which means you need mammon dollars or whatever other version of it that they make someday. you're always going to have to be in the system. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you're dependent on that firearm to protect you, to feed you, to clothe you, to take care of your family's needs, if you're dependent on that thing, it will fail you. You ever have dreams, guys? Everybody I know who's had firearms almost inevitably has the dream where you're going down a back alley and some dudes come out of the dark corners and you're like, don't worry, honey. I've been carrying my pistol every day, waiting for this moment. And as you draw that thing out and you clear your clothing and you do a sweet, fantastic, under 2 second draw, fire, and your first round jams. Or the first round doesn't even do a thing because you left your thumb safety on. Poor training. Thumb safeties are ridiculous. I know they have a purpose, guys, but it's called my pointer finger. Safety number 1. Don't have a thumb safety. Some guys are really big into that. They've just, most of them, never had to shoot another human in a very stressful time. Train your finger. No, not this one. Train this one. Anyways, that being said, you ever have those dreams where the firearm jams and you're freaking out? You don't know what you're gonna do? I did, all the time. My wife would have those dreams because I trained her with her firearm. Granted, I have to admit here, she has a thumb safety on her firearm. She likes the Colt 1911 platform. She loves it. Shoots spectacularly well. It's a wonderful firearm, chambered in 9mm, which is even more fun and exciting because it matched my Glock. I love shooting that. It was fun to shoot together, and hers was beautiful. She put burl grips on it. On her own, she upgraded them. They're spectacular. It's a really nice firearm to shoot. That being said, it has a thumb safety, and she would have dreams of trying to sweep the safety and struggling and not being able to remember how to do it when she was stressed, because your brain shuts off when you're really stressed. Believe me, I've watched it happen a lot. I practiced and trained in accordance with killing other humans, banking on the fact that they had no idea what they were doing at that moment because their brain had just shut off when they saw a bunch of steel coming at their eyes. It's real. It's a really intimidating effect, guys. When you take a sharpened piece of metal and you put it in someone's eye, it really ruins their day really fast. It makes them freak out in all kinds of ways. And I'm not just talking about the dude you're killing. I'm talking about the people around him who see it happen. Really freaks him out. So, that being said, consider these things when you put so much of your life, your soul, your mind, your will, your emotions into your firearms. The Father told me to get rid of that thing, and I'm so thankful I did. Because you know what I was able to do? Buy rocks. Yeah, I traded my firearm for rocks, guys. I traded it for everything you see here. Bags of gum rosin, pitch, well, pine sap, okay? This is what I did with that funding. I bought linen. That's it. I fed my family. I made sure that we had enough to eat. I mean it. We were in a bad way when we were in that Dick's parking lot just a few months ago. We were not okay. We were at the end of our ropes in every kind of way. And I'd been trying to sell that firearm for a long time, and the Father wouldn't let it happen. It was ridiculous. But then a pandemic came along, and the Father is so good because a lot of people get fearful, and so they depend on their firearms. Plural, by the way. Most guys have got way more than they could possibly carry in their pockets. Be understanding of this. The Father has a way of teaching us lessons that we can't learn any other way than by being obedient to Him. For me, I had to sell my firearm before I could learn the lesson that it was more important for my family to learn the lessons about armor and rocks and shepherding and linen than I ever could carrying around a chunk of complex machinery metal all day, every day, without any actual use for it. But you know what I have used with regularity? A pocket knife. This one. The Spyderco just Spyderco Para 2. No, this is the 3. Spyderco Para 2. Lightweight. Basically the best pocket knife ever made. Let's see. Can I focus it? CTS BD1. N. Nitrogen enriched steel. It's amazing. It's got a compression lock on the back so your fingers aren't in front of the cutting edge, and it does that. It's fantastic. Fits in my pocket. Deep carry clip. Black on black so you don't see it till I need you to see it. It's the best design blade ever. for its size category and weight and cost. Anyways, I love this. Ow, that's a super hot copper dish. I gotta get to this armor at some point. But here, I got a copper pot here. I intend to make armor out of this. But I'm not there right now. That being said, sometimes, some of you guys, you need to sell your firearms. I know, that's moderately unpopular. And you need to buy swords. Go buy one fantastic, well-made, incredibly well-produced, sweat equity made sword. One for you, and if you have children, one for each of them. I mean this, because you know what you're gonna need? A sword. I mean that. I like machete swords, because the kukri, in my opinion, is absolutely one of the most effective tools for delimbing things in existence. I just had to clear. I didn't have to. I was tasked with clearing out a section of this property that was... I just want to show you the amazing clearing that the goats have done ahead of me. These goats have come in, and before, everywhere you're seeing was just completely overgrown. Mostly, see that green one? That's thorn. It's a briar right there. You see that green guy? Looks all fresh and healthy. Vines. Unbelievable amount of vines. And you see a lot of these get pulled over by the vines. Like these brushes and these trees and bushes that want to grow. Well, they can't. So we built a fence all the way around this section, going all the way around it. And the goats will clear about to just above waist height, sometimes higher, but there's still a lot of green. See how thick it is up there? That's how thick it was just below it too. But now I'm going through and I'm gonna clear out with Mr. Machete. I know, a lot of gnarly edges, but I'm gonna clear out all of this so that that top green foliage can come down. My goats can eat it, turn it into milk, and then we can clear up this hillside, put it to work, turn it back into good grasses. Happy grasses for happy goats. All right, if you can see behind me, it used to just be an entire wall, similar to this. But a little blood, sweat, no tears yet. Chickens, why are they over here? Not chickens, goats. Goats, you need goats. Now, watch. They're gonna eat all this down because I brought down the upper canopy. There's a lot of thorns, briars, locusts, tiny shrubs, bushes, some nice hardwoods which I left and I just pruned up to about 10 feet high. So now, this whole area that used to just be totally unusable space, we're capturing it back. And I'm not using, listen, a lawnmower or a bush hog, or I'm not using mechanization. I'm putting my sweat equity into this, and I'm using the animals because as the animals come in, they're going to convert this green goodness back into great fertilizer for the soil. Look at earthworms. The soil's in great shape. It's not in bad shape. There's earthworms hanging tight. It's going to do great. You won't be able to not grow things here because it's happy. But by doing it this way and not the mower way, we're going to turn it into wonderfully usable space. Anyways, I got a lot more work to do. And so we used the goats. It took us weeks to build a fence. Weeks to build this fence through this insanely thick, unbelievably briar-rich area. It took the goats a matter of a couple days to completely strip it down to about 5 feet, from about 5 feet tall and down. They ate everything green in existence in there that they like. My daughter is awake apparently. Hi, Naomi. I'm glad you're up. Dad, I'll be there in just 1 minute. I'm recording a video about knives.
We don't have lunch yet.
Okay, let me know when it's done, honey. Excuse me. Dad brain. I was clearing this thing out with my machete because it's the perfect tool. I love it. I was able to go in and crawl around this no longer briar-rich area and chop down all of these things that had been providing a canopy for vines and briars to grow on. And I brought that whole canopy that's now about 10 feet up off the ground down to where my goats could continue to finish eating it off. And I'm clearing out an area that will turn into pasture. It's awesome. It's amazing. And I couldn't do it with a rifle. Do you get what I'm saying, guys? You need a machete. You need a sword in your life. and you need to learn how to use it and wield it and carry it with you on a regular basis. Even if you live in an apartment, get used to putting that thing in your hand. It's wonderful. There's places called forests out there, guys, where you could explore. Even if you live in the desert, you still have forests. I grew up there my whole life. Colorado's a giant desert, guys. I know it looks real cool in the pictures that you see on television in the Coors marketing commercial for beer. It's a desert. There's still things that need to be delimbed out there, and it's awesome, and you need to learn that skill set. While hiking around that mountains in Colorado, I learned how awesome it was to carry a spear. And you know what just happened? I met a javelin thrower. Yep, so I'm gonna learn some serious spear tossing. I can't wait. I'll show you some videos eventually. And he runs with it on the trail, barefoot. What a human. I can't wait. I want to learn to be like that guy. Go read Natural Born Heroes or Born to Run. I'm about to read that one. I haven't read that one yet, but I can't remember the author's name. But read Natural Born Heroes. Learn about humans who do a spectacular thing and become Gibberim in a day. It's awesome. That being said, guys, I'm going to make some armor right now that I've been waiting my whole life to do. And I couldn't have made some armor unless I sold my cloak. Because the Tavor, you know what I just learned about? It's a cloak. It basically means misfortune. I just read it in Hosea. Hold on one moment. I read Hosea, and you should read Hosea because that's the ultimate sword. Buy that sword. Buy a great version of it. I like the Sefer from Sefer Publishing Group. I also like other translations that are easier to read. So I do those too. But buy some swords, you guys. You need them in your life. Those are the best ones. But in Hosea, that's spectacular. I'm so excited you're enjoying those bells, honey. There'll be some background fun for some of you guys that are still hanging in there. That being said, in Hosea, it literally had the word Tavor in there. And I was like, what? Tavor's in the Bible? Yeah. And you know what in that version of the Bible. And it meant misfortune. That's what Tavor meant. Tavor meant misfortune, lack of fortune, like lack of provision, lack of wealth. Do you realize this? I've been carrying around misfortune, depending and baiting my life on this cloak of misfortune. Good job, Nay. I've been carrying around misfortune and wondering why my life was garbage and why I was at the end of my rope and why our finances were dead. I've been depending on misfortune to provide for me instead of depending on the one who authorized the sword that tells me all about how to combat the enemies of all. This is great, Naomi. That's lovely, honey. I'm so
I did that. I spinned it and clanged it.
Great job, honey.
That's how.
Well, I'm gonna wrap this up because I'm about to make some fiery, awesome armor. But I needed to instead surrender my life to the one who called me, give over my misfortune, and trust that he would provide for me something far better. And that was a sword, and that's gonna be armor because I know this armor will be better than anything I ever had before. And I'm so excited to share it with you guys. I love you. I look forward to talking to you more soon. As always, live dangerously. Stop being safe. Go back to a coward's life or live dangerously because the days are evil and you were born for such a time as this. I love you. I'll see you soon.